Hi to wHARTon Center audiences. I'm Bert Goldstein, Director of wHARTon Center's Institute for Arts and Creativity, and we are here with another wHARTon Center Connections. We're so glad you've joined us and a part of the virtual programming we've done since the pandemic has started. We are so looking forward, like everybody else, to getting back to live programming, and just keep an eye on wHARTon Center's website and other media to find out when that's going to happen. Before we begin, I do want to thank the Michigan State University Federal Credit Union for their support of these programs and also for all the work that they do in our community to bring the arts to Michigan and mid-Michigan audiences. I am joined today by Kelly Stiebel-Clark, Manager of Musical Theater Programming, who's assisting me with today's interviews. And today will be co-hosted by Linda Reef. And Linda, give us a wave there. And she will introduce herself later with the rest of our dancers and choreographers. So to jump right in, wHARTon Center is very committed to presenting dance on our stages, as well as using dance as an education and engagement tool. A long history of doing that. All the choreographers that you're going to be talking to today, or listening to today rather, have appeared in one way or another on our stages in the past. We are so glad to welcome them back for this conversation. I'm going to ask each one of them to briefly define the work they do, as well as introducing themselves. And for audiences at home, their detailed bios will be on our website. So while we don't have time today to go into everyone's bio and everything that they've done and all the awards that they've won, you can read about that on the wHARTon's website. So we're going to jump right in. We're going to start off with Ragamala Dance Company, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Welcome, Aparna. So good to see you again.
Hello, so nice to see you and be here with all of you. Thank you for inviting me to participate. So just in brief, my name is Aparna Ramaswamy. I am a dancer and choreographer in the form of Bharatanatyam, which is a classical dance form from the southeastern state of Tamil Nadu, India. I am co-artistic director of Ragamala Dance Company with my mother and creative partner, Rani Ramaswamy. The work we do is we create original pieces for the stage, both a solo and ensemble, that are based in the artistic and spiritual heritage of our Indian traditions, but also are very inspired by our hybridic lives and the influences that we are surrounded by. We are very, very compelled to draw connections between the histories from which we come and our contemporary lives and the dynamic tension that exists between that relationship.
Thank you, Aparna. Jumping to Cleveland, Ohio, Bill Wade.
Hi, everybody. It's awesome to be with everybody today. It's going to be a fun conversation. I'm in Cleveland, Ohio. I am the founder and the executive artistic director of Inlet Dance Theater. This is our 20th anniversary season. Can't wait to get back on stage because that's actually what it's about. We do a lot of performing. We actually do event services for special events, and we do a great deal of education programming. A lot of the work that we do involves co-creating and collaborating with people, different pockets of our community here in Cleveland or elsewhere when we travel. And we, you are using sort of a lot of critical response process, actually, in everything that we're doing. Yep, I learned it from Liz. We use human-centered design thinking as a choreographic practice when we're working, particularly when we're working with populations in the community.
Thanks, Bill. Our very own Happendance company here in Lansing, Michigan, Missy Lilje. Missy, tell us about your work and who you are.
Thank you. I just am super grateful to be sitting with all of you, some of my favorite people right here. Anyway, my name's Missy Lilje. I'm the CEO of Happendance. And at Happendance, we believe that every person deserves their best opportunity to create their highest quality of life. So, once your food and shelter is taken care of, then what? How do you create meaning and joy and satisfaction in your life? And we try to create as many opportunities for folks to do that through dance as possible, right here in the local community is where our mission is centered. So we have dance classes in a studio. We service about 10,000 students a year in the public schools. And we have a professional company that performs in an amateur festival that's for grown-ups who still want to dance but don't want to be professionals. So, you know, we're just always trying to think of as many different possible ways we can to give people a chance to enhance their lives through dance.
Thank you, Missy. From the state of Maryland, Elizabeth Johnson and Dance Exchange. Hi, Jay.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Bert, for this invitation. It is great to share the screen with you all, too. It's such an honor. I'm the Associate Artistic Director of Dance Exchange, based in the Metro DC area in Tacoma Park, Maryland, an organization that was founded by Liz Lerman. And we seek to expand who gets to dance, where dance is happening, what dance is about, and why dance matters. As a socially engaged choreographer, we look to work in ways that has meaningful community participation and social relevance. And so the work, whether we do that on stage or in schools or in museums or in particle accelerators, seeks to expand those 4 questions and really work in community participation and social relevance.
And you'll be able to see some of Dance Exchange work coming up in the new season. We had created with them a performance based on the work of the Facility for Rare Isotope Beams on the campus of Michigan State University, how dance can explain physics and what the FRIB does. So keep an eye on our website and next year's brochure for those dates. That was rescheduled. A project I think was like 4 years in the making. So we're excited to finally be able to present that. Last but not least, Linda Reef, who's been a modern choreographer, was a modern choreographer for many years and long history in dance. Linda, tell us who you are.
Okay, it was good, I muted. So thank you all for being here. I am so happy to be part of this. Currently, I'm not really dancing, but I have had a long career. I started in New York and then went to Cincinnati and was an independent choreographer in both those places, and then came to Michigan, and here I am, and more working on rehab and therapeutic ways to work with all different populations. I work with very elderly people as a PTA, and I also do Pilates. So, but I am so excited because I'm involved with Dance Exchange and Happendance for the near future as a performer, as a community performer. So pretty excited about that.
Great.
Thank you.
So what we have next is all of our choreographers sent in a clip of their work so we can actually see some of their work. And what we want to do is we're going to take a look at that. Linda will help set this up for us. And then we will see the clip and talk about it. Each of you will introduce the clip. And Linda will also then ask the question that we'd like you to discuss as we look at your work. So Linda, why don't you go ahead and take it away with the first question?
Okay, so we're going to start with, we want you to talk about what the piece is, and just, basically give us the name and, the choreography, when it was done, and then the core inspiration. And so it will work like this. So Bill, you'll talk about your clip, introduce it, and then we'll show the clip, and then afterwards a few comments about what we saw. Okay.
Okay.
So we can take it from there. So Bill.
So we are in the middle of revamping some things on our website, as a lot of people are. Not that there's some time to do things that are important but not necessarily urgent, because there's no performing going on the stages. And I'm very blessed because one of the dancers in the company is actually also a our video coordinator, production coordinator for video. And when this all came about, I said, can you just give me something that is a representative of like the work that we do together? So what you're going to see is an excerpt. It's very, very raw. It's not finished. It's going to be done next week, but I just grabbed a chunk of what she put together, and it just gives you an idea of the aesthetic of the company. And every single snippet that you see is either from a concert or us interacting with the community or teaching, and it just gives you kind of a broad brushstroke of, Inlet's world.
Great. Let's take a look. That's beautiful. Nice, Bill.
Oh,
Terrific. So
Thank
what would you say is your core inspiration?
I think my core inspiration is people. We have a motto in this company of using dance to further people. When I was younger and performing in various companies, it was very clear to me and my experience in those companies that I was being used to fulfill either a project grant or somebody's ego or a namesake of an organization that I was dancing for. And I kept thinking, there's this sort of brutality inside of what's going on here, and I'd love to flip this on its head. So in the 90s, I quit the companies I was with, and I became an artist in residence at an inner ring urban school, Cleveland School of the Arts, and became the token white guy and had a blast. And my 2 weeks of master classes turned into 11 years of working with the kids. Started an after school program for the boys. This is in the 90s, the context of mass incarceration as a new business. And we ended up at the White House. I mean, it went really well. and I learned that the things that it takes to become a soloist for a choreographer, and there's a way you can train people and the way you can get them involved in the art form that's actually life-giving to them rather than life-taking. So really using dance to further people is like, if the project coming our way isn't directly connected to that, it's an easy no. Because we're certainly living in America right now is the land of many needs. So there's plenty to respond to. And also, I'm not a step maker or step reconfigurer. I'm an image-driven person with a strong background in visual art and sculpture and painting. So it just comes out in the work. It's just kind of who I am, ends up on the stage.
Terrific.
I could really see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay.
Change, Elizabeth Johnson.
Hi, everyone. The clip that you're about to see comes from a recent work that was commissioned by Arizona State University as part of a campus-wide sexual violence prevention program. That program grew into being called Counteract, and it sought to catalyze 880 creative acts within the course of 1 year on campus in response to the 880 acts of sexual violence that happen in our country every day. So in addition to the work that the company was making, that I was making with the collaborators, when I was making with student performers, there was also a campus-wide program for students and faculty across the campus to generate their own programs and artistic work in relationship to sexual violence prevention, consent, into creating safe campus culture. And as we got through this, so one of the things that we created, we created a dance theater performance. So with student ensemble that was for freshman orientation, and that was the content delivery piece, right? This was like, you could either go to the lecture or you could go to the performance. And they did some research about, so students got a chance to which campus orientation they want to do. And so that program was really the content delivery mechanism. As we were working, my primary collaborator, Nick Zaleski, who is a theater artist and also has a degree in public health and does a lot of work in the reproductive justice movement and in sexual violence prevention, we wanted to create something that was not only about information delivery, but around what we were seeing in a need to celebrate the brilliance and resilience of survivors. That so often when we think about events like Take Back the Night, it's like a funeral march. It's there's a darkness to it. There's like a weightedness, and we wanted to show the light, and we wanted to show the way that art can help us think and feel and be moved and move through. So we created this work that's called A Body Home. It was originally conceived and developed for the performance stage of a U-Haul moving truck, for that moving truck to go to campus venues that might not otherwise have performance, like tailgate parties, like the parking lots of sexual violence symposiums. So that the venue was originally there is a live version of the performance that exists within the moving truck, with the truck being a metaphor of what we're moving from, what we're moving towards, what are the worlds that we want to create together. And then even before pandemic, we wanted to also pivot to be able to have something that would be more easily mobile for people. And so we did a film version of the work. And so this is one clip of that 40-minute film. And I think the clip that we are showing is what we call the Sister Queen duet, which is around the ways that survivors support each other.
Okay.
This part of the limbic system holds the emotional significance of the event.
I know this is a lot to unpack. You're doing great.
A wound that doesn't heal, heals slowly, or heals but recurs, is known as a chronic wound. If not attended to, these can reopen and cause cells to congregate at the wound. Capillaries constrict to prevent blood loss, and skin cells clot at the site of injury. They guard from further invasion.
You haven't finished packing. I know. Have you? Finished packing? Nah. It's a process, right? You taking these? I don't know. It's not like they're scrapbook photos.
Good for remembering though.
Remembering what?
Where your scars used to be and what they used to mean.
I don't know if I want to remember that.
It's part of your genius now. Your brilliant, resilient magic, Sister Queen.
It means we stitch our scars together.
It means I make sure you're safe.
It means I ask if you want a glass of water while we talk.
It means I listen.
It means we go to the resource center together.
It means if you happen to be in Burma and I happen to be in San Diego and I'm married to someone who is very jealous and you're married to someone who is very possessive, if you call me in the middle of the night, I have to come.
It means you're not alone.
It means this was not your fault.
It means I believe you.
I believe you too.
Thank you.
So that's Sister Queen. We did get to the place that I thought a little bit earlier. So
Okay. Do you want to say anything else about it? It was beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's Juliana, Pantuga Ferreira, and Christine King, who are the performers. Dance Exchange is an intergenerational dance company. So I think that's evident. So all of our projects, all of our work is intergenerational. This particular cast is very small. It's just 4 people because it's a very small performance space.
Go ahead, Linda.
So Aparna. So would you like to talk about your core inspiration for your piece that you're going to be showing us?
Sorry, there we go. Sure.
Okay.
So I selected 3 excerpts to share, and the first excerpt is an example of my expression of Bharatanatyam as a soloist, and we almost always perform with live musicians on stage, and so that spontaneous relationship with the music in the moment, it's very important to us. So I used that as an example. And it's a piece from my performance at ADF from a couple of years ago. And then the second piece is entitled Written in Water, and that is a large-scale ensemble piece. And I included that to show how important collaboration is in our practice. And it is a piece that we created with the Iraqi jazz composer Amir El-Safar and a visual artist from India. And then the third piece is actually the piece that we're currently working on, and that's entitled entitled Fires of Varanasi, Dance of the Eternal Pilgrim. And so that piece is about the cycle of life, death, and rebirth, and how embodied ritual philosophies and beliefs around mortality, how we each process those things differently, but also how those rituals and beliefs give us as individuals and as a community the resilience we need to step through the various phases of our lives. And we started creating this way before the pandemic. It's become, extremely relevant today, but you'll see this is a set. I think these are just from the rehearsals that we did outside at Northrop last summer. But the piece itself, it's entitled Fires of Varanasi because we use the Hindu pilgrimage city of Varanasi, India, northeastern India, as a symbol for our relationship with this idea of physical metaphorical pilgrimage, our ideas of our relationship with nature, and our interaction with the Ganges River that flows through the city of Varanasi, and also the reigning deity of that city is Shiva, who's known as the deity of life and death, and his dance in the cremation ground is one that's extremely significant. So really exploring this idea of emotional, spiritual and physical transcendence, and how we may work to achieve that in our lives, maybe in this one or in the next one. So those are the three pieces that I'm showing today.
भगवती जानवी कृतशेश्वरी भागीरथी भोगवती जानवी कृतशेश्वरी यत्र यत्र जलाशये तत्र तत्र वसाम्यहम् यत्र यत्र जलाशये तत्र तत्र
Go ahead, Missy.
Okay, so this piece, I just have a 2-minute excerpt of a solo called Falling Lessons, and it's kind of representative of like the power that artistic work can have to enhance someone's life. And, you know, that's our goal. And in this case, it's a piece that kind of has followed me along my journey through Happendance and then into the professional world. So, you know, growing up as a high schooler, I was taking dance composition classes at Happendance and workshopping them. And then, you know, went on to college. And when I graduated from college, I found myself accidentally back in Lansing. You know, I was supposed to move to New York, and then my roommate decided not to go. And so I was like, Mom, Dad, I guess I'll be in Lansing until I figure out, you know, a new roommate situation. And anyway, I found myself in this place in Lansing and at Happendance where I was given the opportunity to produce work and get paid for it. And, you know, I kind of like was surprised that I could do that here. And so this solo kind of, at its core, as a choreographer, I was trying to work my way through anxiety. So the dance is about anxiety. But it became more representative of this work that I just continued to workshop using everything I learned at Happendance and then in school. And this piece kind of followed me. I was able to show it in our amateur show and then pull it into our professional show where I got paid for it. And then I was able to use it to audition for grad school, Arizona State, and I got in there. And then I came back and began artistic directing work back here in Lansing. And the piece was performed at the Cleveland Public Theater and the Capizio Theater in New York. And, you know, so it's not about the dance itself so much as the process that it represents. So, falling lesson.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Nice.
Nice.
Terrific. Great. We've seen 4 very different pieces of choreography, truly unique, all making different kinds of statements about things and about dance and different techniques. So my question is, for each of you, looking at each other's work, what reflections, thoughts, comments do you have on what you've seen as choreography? What's a takeaway for you? What stood out? And you don't have to comment on each piece, that would take a lot of time. So if there's maybe 1 or 2 moments in somebody else's work that really, that you want to reflect on, I would love to hear that. Who would like to start? Thanks, Bill. Okay, EJ, go ahead. Go ahead.
I just I am drawn into the tradition and innovation in your in the work, especially the work that we saw on the steps with your dance company.
So you're referring to Ragamala, Aparna's work.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
And also I recognize the Doris Duke Theater from the Jacob's Pillow clip, I think. And so there's a special, like, you know, seeing that space that is now gone from our field. So it brought up a lot of that. But I think in particular, the ways that your performers you're allowed to see their face. You're allowed to in a way see it's something that is it feels very personal in their expression. There's one thing that Liz Lerman said a long time ago about what a successful performance is, and whether that's, like, you know, a bedside performance in a hospital or like on some of the nation's greatest stages like Jacob's Pillow, and that the dancer is 100% committed to what they're doing. And I saw that in all the works there. And Missy, there's one moment where your performer is you just feel that commitment, that authentic commitment, that the dancer knows why they're doing what they're doing. And that there's something being revealed in the moment, either by the performer, by the audience, or by that space of revelation in between. And I felt that with the works, in the commitment, in the understanding of why, and in the making of meaning.
Thank you. Would someone else like to comment? Yes, Aparna, go ahead.
Oh, sure. Thank you, EJ. That was thank you for your comments. I would agree with everything you said. And you know what, I feel that throughout my life and through my career, I have worked to find, because I work in a form that is unfamiliar to many, really trying to find these points where we are all human, and we are all getting to the core of our emotions, and it doesn't have to be through these through describing my form or your form. I mean, there's just so much more humanity that we share, and I think there is a way in through all of our work and different artistic forms. And what I really found is that, as EJ described, maybe about my expression or being really truthful through the face, I felt that feeling of what each of you described about your work. So for Bill, you talked about this idea of people and connection, and EJ talked about this idea of no matter how difficult the topic or the what shines through, and the humanity and the resilience that we're all kind of going for. And with Missy, you talked about this kind of like longevity of commitment and how we change along the way. And I felt those are all points that I am always striving for in my work. And I saw it so clearly embodied through each of your videos. And I saw all of that through everyone's work. And it just made me feel, even though our forms are so different, you can see just how different they are, but that those points of connection were so clear to me, and just makes me feel like our world is a lot smaller sometimes than we give it credit for.
Terrific. Missy, Bill, who would like to go next?
Ladies first.
Let's see. Sometimes I dip my toe into the world of non-dance. I ran for the local school board, and so getting into policy and politics, and I am kind of straddling these two worlds of like dance and non-dance, and it's given me that non-dance perspective has given me such a greater appreciation for dance and all performing arts. But just as I look at each and every piece of work that we just saw, it's so I think, EJ, when you talk about revelation, I'm always struck by like how vulnerable we have to be as choreographers, and each of you just, there's no apology, there's no insecurity, there's, and sometimes in the non-dance world, that's like, I see so much of that, so much people worrying about how they're coming across and how their social media is going to look. But, each of the pieces that we saw just reminds me of the purpose of artistic work and like concert work versus commercial work, and how that vulnerability and that, wholesale giving of yourselves, and like Bill, the rich visual big pictures that you're able to create with your work, it's transports the viewer. And Aparna is so generous, it's so, the work is just so generous. And even taking it outside of the concert dance and just out into the public in the broad daylight is you have to be fully in your truth to be able to do that. And I think that's a rare thing, especially when we get outside of the performing arts. And EJ, I just kept thinking about like, what if I was a student watching that at my orientation, and how transformative, I think, the fact that it's not literal, you created a sense of abstraction that kind of gets to the truth of like the human experience. And I'm just moved and touched by so much by all of your work.
Thank you. Bill.
Yeah, at the risk of co-signing, I agree with everything I'm hearing and everything that I'm seeing and experiencing through this, such as it is through the screen. But the entire time I was watching these, I kept saying, see, this is why it's so important for us to really take in others and really listen, because there was a thread of like the deeply personal human being. And particularly when we're looking at work that is outside of, the bubble we were raised in, right? Like that's how, I don't know, watching these 4 clips was just that confirmation to me that like, this is why this is so important. We have to be able to share story. We have to be able to share process. We have to be honest about who we are, where we come from, and how that might be different than somebody else, but the only way we're going to get into the middle of it is by sharing these things. And it was a really beautiful reminder of the importance of the work that we're all involved in, for me.
Thanks. I want to jump to another question, and I think it's key. When I was talking to the directors, I did an interview with 3 prominent theater directors about a month ago, and I asked them, I said, the actors are your main collaborators. So for all of you, your dancers are your main collaborators, and what we want to know is, how do you work with your dancers? What role do they play in the creation of your work? Do you use improvisation? Do you have conversations with them? Do you just go into a studio and start jamming and, from there, create structure? So We'll let Missy kick this one off. How do you collaborate with your dancers, and what role do they play in the creation of the work?
It's pretty big. I know some choreographers come in, they have a vision pre-burned into their brains, and they come in and they're trying to, get to that. They're trying to match that. I'm not that kind of choreographer. I really want to come in with a little bit of content and teach that to the dancers, and see how close we can get to a shared vision. But then I am always so curious about, like, okay, so if this dance is about anxiety, tell me how you feel about that. Like how, and how, like, let's move around that a little bit. Let's do a version of it like this and a version of it like that. And, let's see what you think of what ideas you have. So I'm constantly, like, I rarely in a program notes say choreography Missy Lilje. Almost always it says choreography Missy Lilje and dancers, because they are a huge, huge part. I can't even, I don't think I have ever, even like when I've been hired to choreograph musical theater, I am still, where like the storyline is pretty straightforward and the purpose of the choreography is very, pinpointed. I'm still asking them questions about how they feel and what they think, and using that to mull over with my own filter. So it's like I can't do it without them.
Sure. Aparna.
So my form is traditionally a solo form, and so it's very important that the individual is present all the time. And so that every person expresses their emotions differently, their understanding of poetry or the way they respond to music is so unique. And so even if we're creating an ensemble piece, we create as if there are 5 soloists on stage. And so we make sure that there isn't very much unison, but each movement is created and adjusted for that person's personality, that person's strengths or challenges, and then they form different layers of the work. So together we have this painting, but there aren't, but every single person, their differences are really what are highlighted. And so then you're really getting to know, and you're working with each of the performers. Now for us, because we work in a very particular lineage of Bharatanatyam, all of our dancers, almost all, are trained from the beginning by us. And so they have, we're a family. I mean, we are literally a family, but also our other dancers have been with us for decades. And then now we're working with new dancers who have training from other schools. But so that's a very interesting process, and we're really learning how do we utilize other movements that are common, but they may be practiced differently in different schools. And then how does that strengthen, how does that balance the movements and the way we do them? So it's been really interesting as a choreographer to shape all of those pieces and put them together.
Thank you. Bill.
I am by nature a collaborator, so my repertoire would not exist except for the people that were in the studio with me at the time that it happened. It's interesting. We have in our company, everybody that's in my company has gone through a trainee program, and because some of the work is really dangerous, and I want to make sure people are safe. So we have we talk about these like a tripod of training. We're a contemporary dance company, but our technical base is actually an Eric Hawkins technique, release technique, because of who I worked with back in the day. And then another decade of my experience as a dancer and as a maker was with Allison Chase, Palablas, Momix, etc., and now her own work. But then also from Robert Ellis Dunn and some other people that I worked with, we have a bunch of improvisation prompts that we work with. And I have found that the dancers in the company are really successful after they've had, a year or two, it depends on the individual, a year or two of that kind of training all of those things up, but we build up out of that material. So we have this continuum of some of the pieces in the rep are very, very dancerly. Other pieces in the rep are very, very sculptural, and there's like everything in between. And, you know, I just reminded dancers yesterday in rehearsal that, you know, all of the dances can be recast. They'll never be the same because of who's doing the speaking each time it's performed. And that's really, really important. I think the younger dancers that are in the company now that got promoted I had a bunch of dancers exit because of COVID, and they're like, I'm not going to perform for 2 years. I'm 30 some years old. You know, Josh is 41. He was like, I'm good. I'm out. So I had 6 dancers retire. So there's all this room for promotion. And now the younger ones I'm noticing are scared at how good the other ones were. And they're always comparing themselves to the people that are not even in the studio now. I'm like, they're gone. You guys, you're it. You've been trained for years in this stuff. And it's interesting how the confidence level, and I'm kind of hearing this in these other comments too, like the confidence level of the individual and their ability to be present and their ability to allow their own unique voice to be heard inside of a piece that's, you know, 20 years old or whatever. And when we get a new situation of creating, sometimes that's a commission. I will know, I'll walk in the studio with a really good, like what Missy was saying, a really good idea of here's the vision for here's the brief for the commission. And then let's open it up and open source kind of create images that directly connect to that. So we're very open source, and I kind of act in that situation as more like the editor. And what's funny, because the really beautiful images everybody reacts to, ooh, do that again, you know, that kind of a thing. And so, and we film them and we keep them, and then I have to like do composition stuff in order to make sure that the impact is there. And if we're working with members of the community, we take their ideas, we go to the studio, we work on those, we film them, we take them back to those community members, show them to them, and allow them to sit in the choreographer's seat and have input. And then so it's iterative, you know, and it keeps going and going. And, you know, the due date is the due date, and then it's where you show it to people. And hopefully it doesn't suck. But yeah, the artists in the studio are very, very critical to the work of Inlet anyways.
Thank you.
Very much my job as a choreographer is to create the container, the structure by which they can innovate with their own bodies and their own medium. So we work with an intergenerational dance company. Every body is truly different. It does not work to have like a one size fits all for the kind of range that's in our company. And different, we come from really different movement histories and training too. And one of the things that is wonderful is the more Juliana is Juliana, the more Christine can be Christine, right? That they are not expected to be the same at all. And that they really bring different things to the invitation to create movement. I'm very content driven. So, I mean, I love science. I mean, I no matter what the dance is about, I find science, science way. So I was going to share Just a Sister Queen, but you saw what we call the anatomy of trauma section in there too. So sometimes it is very, I really excited about bringing very specific kind of curricular content into the studio in the same way that, in the same very similar practices that I might use when I'm looking at arts integration and teaching in an educational environment. Same tools. The Dance Exchange Toolbox is really the tools that I use. There are some codified tools that are online that are available. The last section of the Body Home that if you are interested, that's all available online. We asked survivors around the country to respond to the prompt of when is a time when you were at home in your body. And so the audio sound score is all different voices sharing these really true times of being at home in your body. And the movement created from that was from visual artists who submitted to Survivor Love Letter. So really beautiful images of survivors holding their childhood like selves. They're really, really, really beautiful visual images. So the movement that the dancers created were from the details of those visual images. that it's the same subject matter that there is the audio prompts for, and then through their own filter of time when they were at home in their bodies. So, and then we put them in a field and we recorded them with a drone. So there's always been, so it's not only about the ways of the body and with the movement that is created, but then how all of those things are shaped together with different scenic elements and the different compositional structures. So, yeah.
So now I'll go back to my other question, which is, I know all the pieces are different and different pieces get created in different ways. In general, from the time you go into that first rehearsal in the studio with your dancers until you get to the performance, whether it's in a theater or outdoors or anywhere, how long is that process for you? Just a general, relatively short answer. So, Bill, how long is that process for you?
I learned the hard way because of grants that I had to come up with a math schematic, so we studied it for a while. So to remount a piece with a new cast is approximately 3 hours for every minute of performance time.
Okay.
If it's something completely from scratch, it's 4 hours for every minute. The reality is some of those go real fast and other ones take way longer than those 4 hours to just, but that's kind of like for us the norm.
Aparna, how about for you?
Yeah, so so for an evening length work, so our pieces are almost always 60 to 70 minutes. It's not a rep show, it's one full piece. Before we go into the studio, we do we have an original score, we do all of the research for the lyrics. We work with the composer, we work with the musicians, we sketch everything out. So that takes like 2 years. And then after that, because it's all from original concept, and so we're just kind of digging and reading and researching. And then once we have that all set up, I would say it's about 8 months with the from when we probably start to when we can premiere-ish. Or during COVID, it's like, 2 years.
Yeah. Missy, how about for you?
It's hard to, it's hard. A lot of the work that we do comes through that process I talked about before. It's a collection of choreographers who might be local, who may have worked on something in their free time as an amateur, and then they wanted to put a lot of time into it, really extensively concentrated so that they can get a grant or get into grad school or something like that. But it's interesting, the Bill's like hours per minute. I think for us, it probably turns into about that. If it was 3 to 4 hours per minute of work, I think that could explain the range pretty well.
It's very similar with theater too. For every minute you have on stage is about an hour's worth of rehearsal. And sometimes I figure about an hour per page per text.
Yeah, I think about that too. But then if you think about like, how long did it take the playwright to write the script? I think a lot of times with dance, we're writing a brand new script.
Right.
And how, how does that factor in?
EJ, page to stage, how long?
It is totally, we work with such a broad range of performers and dancers. And so, as you mentioned, the piece that we'll be performing at the whARTon Center has been in development for years, maybe 5 years, but because our professional company members, we work with a network of artists who are not full-time, they're partnering artists, so they're working on different contracts with us for different artistic works, but they are all over the country, and now Juliana lives in Mozambique. So we have to rehearse in really concentrated one week time. So the time is separated over years with research that is happening in between. So that is one-on-one range. Like we're talking about 5 years, 6 years. And then on the other range, when you're said, we're doing something for Middletown dances, and we want to do something with the waiters on Main Street, and you have a show in the afternoon, I'm like, well, you let me know. I will go to the alleys. I will work with them. I will do 15 minutes. I mean, I literally had a 15-minute rehearsal with a bunch of waiters on their breaks, on their separate breaks in different alleys, throughout the town. I'm just running around from break up. Like, you show me your tricks. What do you do? What do you do? Okay, and I'm designing it they had never met each other. It was like it was, you work with what you have. so I'm totally, and I also do these dance with your dog things, because every summer at Jacob's Pillow has been for many summers. You learn the dance in 15 minutes. We do it because those dogs will get tired and they need to get their water. So, yes, it does take me a little bit longer to design the structure and everything, but you work within the structure you have to make. Yeah.
So we are almost out of time. I'm going to ask a really short answer for this. If you had a word of advice to a young choreographer getting into this business, you've all had years of experience. To end this, we probably will have students watching this, young dancers who want to get into choreography. Real short answer. I realize that it's probably not fair to say short answer, but I'm gonna, because we're out of time. What's your 1 or 2 words of advice, Aparna?
Oh, first, okay. I guess I would say that at different stages of people's career, I think people have these ideas, these notions of what they want to do. So I want to perform in X venue. I want to work with this person, and I think that every opportunity, I am not joking. My mom and I, we joke about how when we started, we have brushed glass off a, pavement in the park, and, that our next show will premiere at the Kennedy Center. It feels like, oh, just you're on the corner dancing career center, yeah, the Kennedy Center. But we've had our share of sweeping the pavement and dancing for 2 people. And every single opportunity, regardless of venue, collaborator, time of day, whatever it is, you learn something. You connect with people. And that can sound trite, but I am being absolutely truthful that I think everything grows us as artists and it grows us as humans. And I think we shouldn't say, if at all possible, we shouldn't say no to anything. We should accept everything, and it will only help us in our careers.
Great. Missy, your advice for young choreographers?
Find a place to show your work and ask for feedback constantly, and keep repeat that process as much as possible.
Bill Wade.
With the younger generation, I would tell them to stay away from your personal need for attention and pay a lot more attention to the craft.
Great. And Elizabeth Johnson?
Partner different. So partner different bodies, partner different contents, you will never be bored if you just expand your range.
Great. We are out of time. I know we could have spent easily another hour talking to you folks about your work. I want to thank you all once again, Missy from Happendance, Aparna, Ragamala Dance, Elizabeth, Dance Exchange, Bill Wade, Inlet Dance. Linda Reith, thank you so much for co-hosting with me. I so appreciate it. So thank you so much, and the best of luck to all of you in getting into a post-COVID world, getting back into your studios, into your theaters, into your trucks, into your gardens, into your steps on university campuses, wherever you're creating dance. And I think we're hopefully through this thing, and we'll be seeing all of you live again. And thank you all also for coming to wHARTon Center and allowing us to experience your work here. We've loved having all of you as collaborators and all of you as partners here. And we look forward to seeing your work here again in the future. Thank you so much. And that's it.
Thank you again to Bill, Missy, EJ, Aparna, and Linda for joining us on our conversation today. And a big thank you to MSU Federal Credit Union for your continued support, both with our virtual programming and our in-person program, which we all hope to get back to sooner rather than later. A reminder that we are continuing virtual programming for the next few months, including a new set of virtual at-home classes and our ever-popular Take It From the Top summer camp. So make sure to visit whartoncenter.com and join our e-club, or visit us on social media so you can stay up to date on everything we have going on, as well as reopening plans for the future.